which is happening as I speak. The program, by the way, is Monday through Friday, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And I do take calls. 617-396-4958 is the number if you'd like to join the conversation. As I speak. Let me just get rid of that. So the number again is 617-396-4958. Let me go live on Restream. Let's see. Restream, go live. There we go. Okay, we're live on Restream. And let me go live on Podomatic. Let's see. Is that happening? They want to do a sound check. They want me to do some stuff here. There we go. Start recording. Skip the test. Let's just go to record. All right. It looks like I'm on board there, I think. I mean, it doesn't look like it's being timed or anything. Well, let's see what happens. And there it is. 3, they're giving me a countdown. And there we go. We're live on Podomatic, which means that I'm now live on, I think, 5 different venues. Podomatic, YouTube, Facebook, DLive, Twitch. And I'm also expecting a guest to arrive shortly. That is David Horowitz, of course, the author of Radical Sun. If he can't make it today, then we'll do it next week. He kind of at the last minute, I had a little exchange with him and he said that he'd try to make it, but we'll see. In the meantime, you're welcome aboard. I'm getting a note here from Podomatic. What are they saying? Is my volume levels okay on the mic here? Let's see. Give it a little extra gain. Looks good. Looks good. It looks like the little squiggly is happening. I'm kind of old, kind of incompetent in these things, I'll admit. I'm not proud of that. But anyway, 617-396-4958 is the number if you'd like to join the program. 617-396-4958. I've had a very interesting week and a consistent week doing this broadcast. And every day, I didn't miss a day, from 12 noon to 1 p.m. at least, if not longer, Monday through Friday. I've gotten a ton of phone calls, really interesting people. I've had some great guests, and I really am launching this thing. And I'm determined and dedicated to doing this thing this year. There's going to be a blackout here, you say? I'm getting a TikTok. Look, I don't know if there's going to be a blackout, but as I've said, it would not at all surprise me if I'm taken off the air. You know, we're entering into what I think is a rather fascistic time, where if you don't genuflect and goose step and zig heil to the powers that be, you are not going to be permitted to be in the public square. I mean, and my evidence of that is what they did to the president of the United States. If that isn't enough evidence, I don't know what is. Hello, you're on the air. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Charles. I have no idea how to get on your show.
Well, you're on my show right now, David. Thank you very much. You're here by phone, which is fine. Listen, I want to thank you for joining me. This is David Horowitz. He's the author of Radical Sun. He is the author of a shelf of books that are all tremendous reads and great insights into what we're looking at right now in terms of Go ahead, David.
A forthcoming one, which is about the moment we're in, which is the institution of a fascist state in America.
Exactly. That's what I want to talk to you about today, because I think that it's happening.
What happened at the Capitol,
yes,
is it directly analogous to the Reichstag fire. Somebody's mentioning that, but
yeah, exactly.
The Reichstag fire, the Reichstag is the German capital.
Yeah.
Was the capital of the Weimar Republic. It's where their parliament met. And the Nazis set fire to the Reichstag and blamed a communist for setting the fire, a single communist. And then they passed, Hitler had just been elected president of the Weimar Republic. They then they used this pretext of this phony accusation against one communist to pass the Reichstag fire decree, in which they criminalized all their opposition and instituted the Third Reich. And we're not there fully yet, but we are way on our way to this. The Democrats want to criminalize. I mean, look, take this election. We just had an election. There were, in 5 key battleground states, were won by Biden by 158,000 votes total in all 5 states.
Mm-hmm.
1.4 million ballots were cast illegally.
Right, at least.
All for Biden. Yet to question that election result gets you, if you're a United States Senator like Josh Hawley or Ted Cruz, moved by the Democrats to remove you from Congress and calls to put you on a no-fly list like you're a terrorist for questioning an obviously rigged election result. That's where we are.
Yes, indeed.
And let's remember what fascism was. It was a coalition between the fascist parties in Italy and Germany and the corporations. And it's exactly analogous to what's happening now in America.
Yes, it is.
The thing that gets me the most here is that conservatives and Republicans are too damn tongue-tied to use the word fascist when they're confronted by fascists. This is the biggest danger we have. You listen to conservatives talk or Republicans, and it's very, it's like everything is normal except a few little problems. And they never use terms. Well, the Democrats are calling Republicans racists and terrorists. What are Republicans calling the Democrats?
They're completely spineless.
Well, that too, but some of them are pretty clear.
Either that or they're in the same bag, like people like Dick Cheney's daughter, who is calling for a national committee to see what, to censor speech.
Oh, Liz Cheney needs to be removed.
Oh, absolutely.
So Kevin McCarthy.
I want to talk about the Reichstag.
That's not the point. I don't think it's just cowardice.
Right.
It's character.
I agree.
There's something really wrong when you're being called a terrorist and you're being criminalized for asking legitimate questions, and you don't call the people who are trying to do this fascists or racist, which they are both.
Absolutely. You mentioned the Reichstag fire, which of course was the German parliament that was burned down suspiciously in the first few weeks of the Nazi regime, and which gave them an excuse to suspend the Constitution, seize power, and move the country in the direction that ended up in World War II and the Holocaust. Now, I'm not suggesting that literally is what's happening now, but the Capitol incursion is being used in such a way, regardless of how it was done.
No, Charles, it's literally.
And you think so? Okay.
Now.
All right.
What? They had a report, didn't they? That
Yeah.
There was a demonstration was very dangerous, that people had arms and everything, and they pulled the police. Why do you think there was no security there? That could have easily been stopped if they had like 2,000 security.
Right.
Now they've got 20,000. Why didn't they have it then?
They let them in. I mean, I saw video of it. They were like opening the door.
It was a trap. It was a setup and a trap.
And now we also have confirmation that the FBI just arrested the ringleader, John Sullivan, who was an Antifa agent. And there was warnings a week before that you'd have Antifa people dressed in Trump garb going in there along
But
with
no,
regular
it's
Trump people.
obvious and logical.
Yeah.
All summer long, with the support of the Democrat fascists, the Democrat Party, the Kamala Harrises, who will be our next president.
Right.
All riots in 220 cities, 633 violent demonstrations. People were killed. Cities were torched. And Democrat mayors protected the rioters. Now, all of a sudden, they've switched 180 degrees because they're fascists and they want to shut down all their opposition. This is not democratic America anymore.
I agree.
Nancy
I mean,
Pelosi illegally impeaching the president.
right, of course. Ridiculous.
She has done more damage, this woman, to the constitutional framework of our country than any individual in history.
I think in her case, it's just motivated by personal hate.
From anybody in her own party.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
No, I mean, I think in her case, she's motivated by personal hate and vendetta. But in the broader sense, to use that to damage our entire constitutional system, just to settle a score. And now, of course, you have the big tech operating in tandem, just like in the Nazi regime, when you had special certain private corporations working with the government, given monopoly power and working. That's what fascism is. And in this case, you have Twitter actually purging President Trump from his Twitter account and other venues as well. So therefore, he has been censored. He can't be heard. He's a sitting president of the United States, not to mention other enemies like Sidney Powell and General Michael Flynn and others, all purged from the public sphere. We can't hear them anymore.
Yeah, it should scare the Jesus out of everybody.
Yeah, I mean it's shocking, and it's really, and all in response. As you say, the Reichstag fire gave the opening to conduct this. Now we should note that, as you said, David, at the beginning of the program here, the difference between, in a sense, communism and fascism, both of which are leftist ideologies, is that communism itself becomes the corporation. They take over everything. There is no more private ownership. Whereas in fascism, the government works in tandem with select private corporations, which become a part of the government and who are able to then wield their powers. And that's what's happening here. That's why it is that Google and Twitter and Apple have been able to take Parler down. Parler was a $1 billion website that was rivaling Twitter. They just took them down because they were rivals. And that's what's going to happen. I mean, that was just for money reasons. That way they can censor everyone and not worry about being taken out.
I don't think you're right. I don't think you're right about that.
Okay.
I know something about the tech community.
Please fill us in.
The problem is the programming community, the people who work, the technicians who work at Facebook and Twitter have been indoctrinated in our universities to have a fascist mentality. And, Dorsey has one too.
Oh, my God. Yeah, absolutely.
If you look, they're under tremendous pressure to get worse and worse.
Right. No, it's and it's sort of, they all apparently regarding Parler, I think that my understanding is that they all kind of colluded. They worked together to take Parler down.
Yeah, it's completely illegal.
Of course. But we're not going to get to the bottom of it with these fascists in power.
We have a fraudulently elected government that will back them up.
Well, that's just it.
They're all over the Biden White House. They were all over the Obama White House.
And the reason
Bukhari has written a good book on this.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, which is not being published by Simon & Schuster. Right? Josh Hawley you're talking about.
Alan Bukhari.
Alan Bukhari, absolutely. Great book. I've had him on the show. Apparently,
I'm sitting here worried because I have a book that'll be out on April 6th, which describes all of what's happening. It's called The Enemy Within, how a totalitarian movement is destroying America. I don't know what.
No, I mean, we're all worried. Everybody's
I
sitting.
get up every morning and look at my.
Yeah, me too. We're all sitting on Spielkes now, wondering if we're going to be around the next day. I mean, I look in the morning at my YouTube channel to see if I'm still up, and I would not at all be surprised if they take it down, especially as the station's growing here. You know, this is the world we're living in right now.
Yeah, our conversation would be seen by any Democrat that I'm aware of in Congress as sedition.
That's right. And now that they won't have Trump to kick around anymore in a week, even though I think they're going to still keep that alive, being good leftists, they're going to have to find a new focus for their hate. Otherwise they can't exist. These people thrive, or they have their reason of existence based upon hate. So without Trump around, I think the new hate is going to be any of us who supported Trump. And apparently they're drawing up lists of people who were in the Trump administration, and they're going to send them out to make sure that these people never get another job. They're going to be, they're going to destroy them.
Look, if you don't think that the gas chambers could be coming, for example,
yes,
or the gulags, consider Loretta Sanchez's bill that she's trying to get through, which would prevent anything being named after Donald Trump, even a bench.
Oh, how vicious. Can you imagine the spite?
Extinguish us.
These people are really sick. That's just demented. I mean, the fact that they would try to be so hateful, I think that that's going to backfire on them, because Trump is still, I mean, he won the election, which means
I'm waiting for the Democrats to stand up for just basic Democrat principles.
Oh my God. I mean, to me, it's so loathsome. And Trump ain't going anywhere either. You know, he's going to start his own network. He's already on, apparently, the cloud, and they ain't going to get away with it. You know, they're not going to stop me from talking, or you.
You're an optimist.
Okay.
Everybody out there will fight. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be standing. They'll be taking us. They'll take me away to the nut house, and I'll still be talking about this. No, I know what you mean. It's not pretty. You know, the whole temperature and the direction, and people are like brainwashed. I mean, I've seen this. They're like in a rage, and they don't know why. It's like something has been triggered, like a little computer chip in the back of their heads. It's really a sick atmosphere. It's the result, as you've written about, David, of decades of left-wing propaganda and indoctrination starting in the schools.
Control of the schools.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I began my crusade against the communist perversion and domination of our classrooms.
Absolutely.
30 years ago. Not too many conservatives listened.
And you warned us, and enough people did. Well, look, I think enough people did listen that we have a large segment that's going to go out and fight. I mean, I'm not totally pessimistic here. This is still America. You know, Germany, they didn't have that kind of,
America
consciousness.
It's not Weimar Germany by any stretch of the imagination. We're rooted in individualism. Don't tread on me. The government is dangerous. That's rooted in the American character.
That's right. We still have basic democratic institutions. They can, I think that they're overconfident. They're overplaying it because they are taking power.
As a thought,
yeah.
On the Second Amendment, there are 412 million guns out there.
Exactly.
And whenever I heard to me, a gun is to make you feel secure in your home, at night in particular.
Right.
So I was always a little bit not on board when the NRA and gun rights defenders talked about the government. You have to be armed to protect yourself against your government.
Right.
And I always thought that if you're fighting your government, you're going to lose. But now it seems, yeah.
No, I mean, I totally
Look
get
at
that's
the way
what.
they showed up at Roger Stone's door.
Well,
These
that's now
are the
become normal.
Gestapo.
That's become normal now.
Well,
You have,
this is our FBI
yeah,
and our intelligence agencies were all corrupted by Obama. They made political appointments of communists or fascists. Whether there's really no difference.
no, everybody applauded when that happened, and we got used to that with these Mueller and his brown shirts showing up and taking like what they did to Dr. Jerome Corsi, my friend who's a regular in the show. This is what became normal in this country, and now the Obama people are all coming back.
Well,
it's very disturbing.
It predates that. It goes back to the Clinton administration.
Sure.
Where they took Elian Gonzalez, the kid, who his parents, one of his parents died trying to did get him to the United States to escape from the hellhole that Cuba is. And then Clinton sent these military guys to yank him out of his home in America and send him back to Cuba, where he's now a model communist.
Right. And not to mention bombing the house at Waco. And we may not have liked the people there, but we got used to the idea of thinking there's some virtue in a government showing up with fire torches and burning a house down with children in it. But that's even earlier. The point is, we've gotten used to it in this country, and we've gotten a shocking percentage of people think it's a virtue. They think it's good, which is the most disturbing thing of all. Younger people, millennials, people that, and minorities often, they've been brainwashed into thinking that there's something virtuous about this kind of behavior.
Not something. They think that it is virtue.
Yeah. But anyways, David, look, you don't know if your book's going to get published. I don't know if this show is going to be on the air tomorrow. We're all sitting on Spielkas now. Nobody knows what the hell is going to happen. What can we do?
Well, everybody, I think it begins with calling things by their right names. I'll feel a little bit more comfortable when every racist Democrat is called a racist and every fascist Democrat is called a fascist. But we're fighting fire with fire. I don't like the present situation. Ari Fleischer, who's a pretty decent guy,
right,
was on the air, and he was describing what's happening, get this, as the campusization of America. The campusization. So you have to think for a while, so what the hell does that mean? And so when you come up, it's what's happened on our campuses. But what is it?
Well, that's right.
It's political, has no political power.
No, they're using euphemisms. I get that. There's a young congresswoman coming in Georgia who is going to file an article of impeachment against Joe Biden the day after he is confirmed.
Yeah, well, that's a good mentality. I think that's not wise politically. She'll be completely isolated. How many Republicans do you think will support that?
Well, whether they support it or not, the thing is that famous video of him bragging about blackmailing the Ukrainian president is to stop investigating the oil firm that was giving his son $75,000 a month. That'll be publicly aired.
What I'd like to see is Trump release all the goods they've got on Hunter Biden.
Oh, yeah, well. Yeah, I agree. I mean, there is talk about Trump releasing.
Hunter Biden is obviously compromised by the communists have so much data on this drug addict.
Yes.
He's a Chinese asset.
He is.
And so is his father, probably.
Oh, well, I mean, the laptop shows that he was giving the father a kickback.
It's pretty clear. I believe it's pretty clear that Nancy Pelosi is too. Otherwise, why would she have put Swalwell?
Yeah.
Not only on the Intelligence Committee, but now on the impeachment team.
While he's there sleeping with a communist spy.
Why would she protect Swalwell? Why would she protect Swalwell unless the communists have something on her?
And I think they might have some on Mitch McConnell too. So this isn't even a Democrat versus Republican thing. I think there was some deep connections that with a lot of people in our government right now, they've completely infiltrated not just the government, but much of the private sector. And it's a very troubling time. And of course, now with Biden, there's not going to be a damn thing that's going to be done about it. Anyway, David,
Right.
excuse me.
Very news today.
Yeah. But listen, I appreciate you joining me. Let's do it again soon. Let's stay in touch. God willing, we'll be still able to function here. But
Okay. Thanks for having me.
all right. All right, David Horowitz. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon. All right, that's David Horowitz. Thank you for joining me, David. You're welcome to join the program. We're doing an open line segment here, 617-396-4958. 617-396-4958. Just a little technical problem in that he was supposed to come in visually on my Zoom, but he came in through the phone. I'll have to figure that one out. I'm going to have to work with all of this excellent technology to try to straighten that out. But either way, it was great having him on. Great insight. This is a man who had been a communist back in the 60s, a very prominent one. He was the editor of Ramparts magazine in San Francisco. He got involved. He grew up as a communist. His book is really worth reading, the book Radical Son. I really admire his work. He's a great guy. Then he had a change of heart in the 1970s when he was working with the Black Panthers, and he finally realized that they were nothing more than a bunch of gangsters. I mean, it was like literally a mob group that murdered a very close friend of his who he had suggested work for them. And it was so traumatic that it changed him. He really switched over. I always appreciate that you don't mute me, good man, just delusional in my opinion. I don't know who you're talking about, but you're welcome to text me, I suppose you'd say it, over at TikTok. And you're welcome to call in, 617-396-4958 is the phone number, 617-396-4958. As I wrap up my first week doing this live broadcast with phone calls, it's been a great experience. I love doing it. I just hope they continue to let me do it in this atmosphere that we're in, which I would suggest, or more than suggest, is a very, shall we say, totalitarian atmosphere. There is news out today, as I said earlier, indicating that first, there are two things about the impeachment, the phony impeachment. Let me point out that, I mean, this rush to impeach President Trump on insurrection, really? I mean, what are they suggesting? What is insurrection if it's not? Oh, they think that, what do they do? He sent a couple of nutcases down to the U.S. Capitol to seize the building and take hostages, and that'll keep him in the presidency. I mean, really, this conspiracy theory is worse than the absolute cracked conspiracy theory that they cooked up last time, which was that Trump was spying for the Russians, or that he was colluding with the Ukrainian president to take Biden down. I mean, these things are, these are people who like to ban the rest of us with the accusation that we are conspiracy theorists, when they are officially launching the most demented, damaging conspiracy theories of our modern times. And they're doing it all under the guise of legitimacy. So their conspiracy theory about the incursion at the Capitol, which everybody knew about, it's starting to fall apart. I don't know if the major mainstream media is going to cover this, but it has now been, I think, confirmed. I mean, at least I have two sources on it. We'll find out officially, eventually. That is assuming we have any shred of freedom left. That the one of the prime ringleaders of the Capitol breach was this guy, John Sullivan, who is and clearly has been identified as a major Antifa figure. He was one of the major instigators. He urged poor Ashley Babbitt to go through a window in which she was shot dead after she got to the other side. I wonder if it was Antifa people who roughed up the police. Probably. We don't know that. We hope that there are at least a few honest law enforcement people who are going to continue investigating that. But the point I want to make about it is that obviously, if this were the case, and this is something that, including me on TikTok and others, have been talking about for about at least a week before the protest, that we were concerned that Antifa people would be dressed in Trump garb, as disguised, and they would cause trouble. They would instigate violence. We didn't know that it was going to go into the Capitol building. But, it's reported and confirmed on CNN. Yes, that's right. Thank you, somebody from TikTok. Why did we get the news footage inside the rotunda? Because CNN was there. And they actually have a hot mic CNN reporter saying, "Oh, this is great. We're getting let me get a good angle here. We were looking forward to this." So yeah, it's starting to trickle out. The point here is that this means, and it's obvious proof, that Donald J. Trump had nothing to do with it. Not that we need proof. I mean, the obvious fact is that he delivered a speech after they had already gone in anyways. And I did listen to the speech. It was a relatively humdrum sort of boilerplate speech. He seemed a little low energy to me. It wasn't the usual Donald Trump. It's sad. It's hard to keep this thing up, but it had nothing to do with, any acts, advocacy of anything other than just, he just was rambling through his record as president, which is, of course, great. And so that, of course, will completely nullify the phony impeachment, which they pulled off in a matter of hours afterwards. And yet there is talk amongst these Nazis, let's call them what they are, that because the Senate trial to convict, which is how impeachment works, the Senate is not going to reconvene until the day of the installment, the inauguration. And that Mitch McConnell has said clearly that he's not going to reconvene for any kind of an emergency session until that time. And I think that he's, by the way, going to be out of power. I think it's going to be Schumer as I believe, as the head of the Senate now. That it will be then that they will convict Trump and remove him from office, even though he will no longer be in office. And you get that, right? At 12 o'clock, when they install Biden, Trump will then no longer be in office. He'll be a private citizen. He will be back to the private world. But they're still going to go ahead and impeach him. When you're on the same side of the Nazis mixed with Trump supporters, you are on the wrong side. I don't know exactly what you mean by that, pal, but, if you want to discuss this, and you want to step out from behind your TikTok page and call this program, I will treat you well as long as you retain community standards. I will treat you respectfully, and we can have a good, respectful conversation. You can do that by calling the show, 617-396-4958, 617-396-4958. Now, going back here, the point I want to make is that this all goes to nullifying this phony impeachment, and yet there are people in Congress who are talking about completing the trial and the conviction and the removal from office even though Trump is no longer in office. And they even say, and I've heard this already, that Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, will not even submit the articles of impeachment, possibly for months after Trump has been out of office. And then they'll have a trial. Can you imagine that? And furthermore, I think that it was first of all, flat out unconstitutional. I mean, there's nothing in the Constitution that says that they can do this. I mean, the trial is supposed to remove someone from office, not remove somebody who's no longer in office. And Lindsey Graham, speaking, I think, on a news program last night, I heard this secondhand. I heard Jeff Kuhner talking about it this morning. He illustrated the obvious here, which is that if they're going to impeach President Trump and convict him after he's left office, then we could have impeachment hearings for Barack Obama. Maybe we could talk about, Benghazi and how he did nothing while 4 men were murdered there. Or we could talk about the birth certificate, whether he was ever a legitimate president. Or we could impeach the Bushes, or we could impeach, Bill Clinton. For that matter, why not go back to Jimmy Carter, how he sold out Iran, the Shah of Iran, or he sold out Taiwan to communist China, whatever. I mean, we could go back in history. And furthermore, Lindsey Graham opines, why not impeach George Washington, right? I mean, if they're going to start impeaching former presidents, who says they have to be alive? Using their logic. George Washington could be impeached because he was a slave owner. And, when I think about that as sort of, as I mentioned earlier on TikTok, as a kind of an armchair historian, I've had books published. My biggest history book was published by WorldNet Daily. It's called The Nazi Connection of Islamic Terrorism. It's still available on Amazon, along with my 15 other books. That maybe from a historical standpoint, it may not be such a bad idea to conduct impeachment inquiries on presidents in the past as a way to understand American history, which I think is a good thing. Maybe we could have some information declassified. We could take a look at Franklin Roosevelt's dealings with the Soviet Union, right, during the war. We could take a look at Wilson and how he lied about not going into World War I, when in fact, I believe he signed peace agreements with Great Britain to do just that before the election and lied about it to get reelected. Is that impeachable? What about the Gulf of Tonkin resolution? Complete fabrication. Lyndon Johnson used that as a pretext to get us involved in the Vietnam War, where 50,000 Americans would be killed. What about that? You want to talk about impeachable offenses? What is my end goal? My end goal is to try to live a good life and try to tell the truth as best I can, and to try to find purpose on this earth, to serve God, to know God, to take care of myself and my family, to live a meaningful life. What do you mean? What is my end goal? What's your end goal? Come on, let's get some. Is my goal to increase online listeners? Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'd love to. I'm trying to launch the show. You bet. And am doing so apparently. I'm up to. I think my TikTok is almost at 7,000 members. I've get the live stream is getting an average of 600 or 700 views. My YouTube channel is going up through the roof. Please subscribe, by the way, to YouTube. I'm up to 3,020 now members, and these are real people who are following me. So, yeah, you're damn right. That's my goal. I want to have, if I'm going to do this thing, I don't want to just be shooting my mouth off. I'd like to have some influence. I'd like to have some success with it. Yeah, I'd like to figure out how to monetize it too. It would be nice if I could get paid. I mean, I write, and I've done some ghostwriting, and I'm involved with that. By the way, speaking of writing, I just published a new short book, a thin short book, almost a pamphlet, I guess you could say, that is called, let me just call it up here, We Are All Socialists Now. A deplorable looks at the 2020 election. You're welcome to purchase it. I tried to make it as inexpensive as possible on Amazon. I think that it's you can get it for free right now, I think, on as an ebook, or it costs less than $3. And the paperback, I think, is a little bit over $5, which is the least I can charge. You can only you have to charge a certain amount. And that's now available. Go to Amazon Books, put my name in the server, Charles Moscowitz, like Moscow with a wits. It's phonetic, and you'll see it. Anyway, let me just see what else is going. I'm still getting from this guy who's trolling me with the justice symbol. Look, if you want to talk to me, pal, give me a call. You're welcome to join the show. 617-396-4958. 617-396-4958. What is on your mind this afternoon? Crazy you can make money. My daughter makes $2,000 a week showing people how to curl hair. Well, that's how the economy works. I mean, I don't begrudge that. If someone is offering a service or they're offering a product, and the market determines the value of it. I mean, it's what Adam Smith called the free hand of the market. So, I mean, I don't begrudge that. I think that's fine. I think that's good. My product is, besides my books and my writing and all the other things I do, and I mean, formerly I was doing things like driving Uber, which I love, but I can't do that now because of the pandemic. It's to launch the show. So anyway, you're welcome aboard. What's on your mind this afternoon? As I was talking with David Horowitz, he kind of thinks like I do about this. Maybe it's our shared Jewish background. I don't know. I mean, it's our shared leftist background, frankly. Not that my family were not communists, although I do have an uncle who was a communist. I'm named after him. I never met him. But, in his case, his parents were communists. I mean, they were literally card-carrying members of the U.S. Communist Party. But it's an awareness, as I matured and as he matured, of the fact that after a lifetime of both being on the left and contradictorily studying the nature of Nazism and the Holocaust, because like me, I think he probably also had family members in an earlier generation who were murdered in the Nazi Holocaust. And so he grew up hearing about it, and as did I. You become interested at an early age in the nature of Nazism. What was it about Nazism that led to this horrible, evil outcome? How did that happen? What are their beliefs? What sort of a political system did they have? What sort of an economy did they have? How was it that this would occur, especially in a civilized country like Germany, the heart of Europe? How could this have happened? And I suppose that my conclusions, not that there's ever a completely definitive conclusion, was that there is no significant ideological difference between the Nazi fascist philosophy and communism. In fact, they both come from the same root. An interesting book about this, by the way, even though he didn't actually make it the main theme of his book, was written by the Librarian of Congress, James H. Billington, who appointed by Reagan. He was a Russian expert. I think that he advised Reagan on his trips to Russia and on Russian policy, which led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. He was, I think he passed away in recent years. He was considered to be one of America's most honored and most significant scholars. He was in all the main institutions of learning, a real establishment figure, not some, right-wing crackpot, like me or someone else. This guy was revered, like a mainstream thinker and a brilliant man. And he wrote a book called Fire in the Minds of Men, which I've read carefully. And it deals with the revolution, if you will, the revolutionary mind, all the way from the period immediately preceding the French Revolution right up to the Russian Revolution, or more accurately, the Russian coup d'etat that was affected by the Bolsheviks. Look up Nasara. Trump signed Nasara laws. Let's talk about that. Call in. I don't know much about that, but I've seen something about it on TikTok. Hello, you're on the air. Listen, let's try to use propriety here. I am somewhat vulnerable as a radio host, frankly, because I can't screen my calls. So I kind of, have to use my finger. I have to have a fast finger here, okay, to hang up on anybody that doesn't observe proper standards. And that's what I just had to do. So please, let's keep the conversation at a high level. Let's have standards. I'm not going to put up with any crap like that. Not on this show. And, if you try that again, I'll do my best to simply hang up on you. And I suppose, frankly, if people keep doing that to me, then I'm going to have to take a hard look at no longer taking calls. And that would be unfortunate because I want to, this is one of the things I'm trying to do here, have the live phone calls. So please, I'll give him one more chance. If this is the same guy, well, hello, you're on the air.
Hi, it's Icy. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Nice to hear from you.
So, I just tuned in. I heard the caller that just called in.
Yeah, I have to be careful because I don't have a way of screening people. And,
yeah.
I have to have a quick trigger finger here. If somebody goes off the rails, I need to hang up quick.
So, speaking of going off the rails, this is my question, inspired by your last caller. And it's a serious question. I'm in my 50s. I'm a little bit younger than you. But I've found, or I think, that people are crazier than ever. What is going on? People are crazier than they've ever been, and I really mean that.
I agree, but I'd like to hear you give an example of what you're seeing out there.
I see no ability to critically think. I see people accepting beliefs for which there's no evidence. And I'm not talking about faith in God because, ironically, faith in God is all but evaporated. And yet people are willing to embrace beliefs that have no evidence supporting them.
Well,
and
I mean, can you get
time embracing atheism? I don't get it.
Can you give me an example of some of the beliefs you think people are embracing?
Well, I'm not going to get into specific conspiracy theories. But there's a rise in belief in conspiracy theories.
Right.
Both on the right and the left.
Right.
I'm not picking on one side. So that's an example, a rise in conspiracy theories. But then again, when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, we had Walter Cronkite reporting the news,
right?
Jessica Savage, whatever. And I distinctly remember they left their personal opinions out of it. They did.
You know something? I'm not sure I entirely agree with that, but I will say that they knew how to do it much more eloquently than people do it now. I mean, people like Walter Cronkite and Eric Sevareid, and I mean, can you think about look at that, how do they match up to somebody like Cuomo? I mean, these people they're dumbbells now, or Lemon. I mean, it's embarrassing. Can you see those guys talking to the Ayatollah Khomeini or Khrushchev. I mean, they don't have the gravitas that they used to have. But having said that, I do think that back in the day of Walter Cronkite, you only had 3 networks, and they really did control the public narrative. And I don't think that was good. I think that Cronkite was further left than people realize, and that kind of came out when his biographer, Douglas Brinkley, who's a pretty good historian, kind of let that cat out of the bag. I mean, that Cronkite did color the news. I mean, he did not report on the Tet Offensive in Vietnam quite accurately the way it was. He did tend to glorify like the Black Panthers. I mean, he had an agenda. And I think that with one of the hopes that I had was that the how should I say this? That the diversification of news would have led to more freedom, but now we're getting restrictions. Now we're getting.
Right. We never saw the best of what it could be.
Yeah, it's very troubling.
But going back to crazy, I see that people just don't have emotional control. They just don't have. They don't have control over themselves.
Right.
They're lacking self-control. The stuff they blurt out and say, and the stupid things they do. I mean, of course, there's always been that, but it just seems more extreme now.
Well, what do you think? You say that people are embracing.
Ice cream.
Whoops, sorry.
I suppose you have any beer in there.
You say that people are embracing conspiracy theories on both the left and the right, and I think that there is great danger to that. But in a way, like conspiracy theories on the establishment side have become accepted as fact. And I'll point to the 2 biggest ones, which was the whole conspiracy theory that President Trump was spying for the Russians. Then that drove 3 years of investigations and millions of dollars, and it harassed the Trump administration. I mean, they accomplished such incredible things. Can you imagine what they could have done without that saddling around their necks? And that whole conspiracy theory turned out they finally had to admit that it was ridiculous.
Well, I was thinking more about conspiracy theories along the lines of lizards and shape-shifting and aliens and really out there crazy conspiracy theories.
Right.
That stuff that, I mean, you can't help but laugh at it. But then when you see a guy that's filling a stadium with 100,000 people in it and does a worldwide tour and everybody's on board, and a lot of those people have bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, you just got to wonder.
Well, all that stuff is always out there. And I mean, the shape shifting, and you talk about like David Icke and that, I mean, that's, I mean, I think that, look, if they're not advocating violence and they're not demonizing any group based upon their ethnic background, then I think it's an issue of free speech. I don't adhere to that. I mean, I've never been one who's a fan of the, the extraterrestrial stuff. I mean, any of that. But, people have a right to it. I mean, that's their business. A lot of the criticism, for example, of the QAnon, look, I don't like any kind of theory that we don't know who is advocating it. And the QAnon obviously is secret, so we don't know who they are. So I'm very suspicious, and I don't accept any of it on face value. But having said that, I mean, what they're talking about is international pedophile rings that engage in satanic practices. And I think that that's a legitimate thing to ask about. We should ask our media and our investigative media to look into that. We know about Jeffrey Epstein. That was an international pedophile ring. So it's not completely far-fetched. And I think that it's something that ought to be examined. So, there are conspiracy theories and there are conspiracy theories. We have to be very responsible when approaching them. And again, we cannot demonize any ethnic or religious group because that's wrong. I mean, no religious group is involved in a conspiracy. people are involved in conspiracies, conscious people who get together and they conspire to do something against our will or by use of deception. But you have to separate that from people who demonize entire peoples, because that's dangerous, and those are lies.
I see a lot of chatter on Facebook, or not Facebook, YouTube comments that try to align the Catholic Church and the Vatican with a lot of conspiracies, which is, to me, very disturbing.
It is disturbing, and it's wrong. I think that you can criticize this Pope, and you can criticize, and I think that it's, as someone who's not Catholic, I look to the Catholic Church as a moral arbiter in the world, and I want them to be so. And for that reason, I dislike this Pope, because I think that he's too much a man on the left. But and that, I think it's openly he's trying to change his church. But that's still, I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's just the wrong direction, in my opinion, for them. And ultimately, that is their business, although it can affect us.
Right. It just seems like I personally feel very frightened. There's a lack of unity now that I've never seen in my life. Yeah. Even in most mundane sense, where you used to be able to go to work and there were only, like you said, the 3 channels on TV. And everybody, if they watched TV at all, would watch, the same movie or the same show. And then we'd go to work and we'd laugh about it. I remember we'd laugh about Simpson episodes and things like that at work. We all saw that there were only just those few channels. And
right
now we can't even talk about movies. Nobody sees the same movies anymore. Nobody's on the same page with entertainment, with TV shows, with movies, with religion, with current events and their opinions. There's no unity. There's no coherency with culturally, politically.
No, I agree. I agree. Look, we used to have certain things like for example, sports, right? Baseball, football, basketball. These were opportunities for Americans from all walks of life, from all political views, who may be absolutely opposed, to come together and enjoy the national pastime and to have a game, and to and it was a unifying. And now it's become politicized. So I think that a lot of what you might be talking about, maybe, at least maybe what I'm talking about, is how everything has become politicized now. Everything is control.
And
it's all
driving people crazy. It's making people insane.
I agree. Well, listen, I want to thank you for calling.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me some clarity. The politicizing of everything is driving people insane.
Indeed. Yes. Well, let's not go too far off the deep end, any of us, including me. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. All right. So we're sort of toward the end of the hour, but I think that maybe I have an opportunity to take maybe 1 or 2 more calls here. And by the way, thank you to David Horowitz for joining me. I appreciate that. 617-396-4958. 617-396-4958. It's kind of disturbing to mention that I just was suspended on TikTok. I don't know if they haven't suspended my station, but they have suspended my live stream. I just got a note saying that it was shut down. I don't know if that's permanent. I don't know if that means I can't do any more little TikToks. But I'll tell you this, that's why I'm doing so many different venues, because if they shut me down on one, I'll pop up on another. I kind of feel badly though about TikTok, because I was really picking up some steam on TikTok. I was up to I am up to about 7,000 viewers. And I'm hoping that there's a way I can continue to communicate there. I don't know. I'll have to mention, if they still give me the 60-second TikTok, I will just go on there each day and mention what I'm doing and tell people to come to other venues to watch the program, because at least temporarily, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do TikTok live, but we'll see. I mean, I'll contact them and see what happened. I'm not surprised. I mean, this is almost like expected under this atmosphere. I mean, I'm looking at my TikTok page every day and people that are subscribing, and I see that they've been removed. So again, I'm not surprised in this atmosphere. We are now living in censored times. I don't know what it is I said, nor will I doubt they'll tell me. It's not possible. It's just that somebody probably following me on TikTok or somebody listening got their nose bent out of shape over something I might have said. Was it that I criticized, Walter Cronkite? I don't know. Who knows? You can't know. And I can't worry about it, actually. Anyway, 617-396-4958. 617-396-4958. I do appreciate the fact that, at least for now, Amazon has allowed me to publish my latest book, and it's available on Amazon. It's called We Are All Socialists Now, a deplorable looks at the 2020 election. I was surprised they let me publish it, but they did, at least for now. And it's available, costs a little under $3. And you can get it, I think, for free right now as an ebook. I'm not sure. I can't promise that. But I think it is available, at least briefly, for free as an ebook. Or you could read it, the first piece of it. It's a quick, easy book, and I got everything down on paper with regard to my thoughts on the election and the stolen nature of it, and what I thought we could do as patriots, as deplorables, going forward. So you might want to check that out. Again, that is on Amazon Books. Just look up Charles Moscowitz, Moscow with a Witz. That's how you spell it. It does not mean Moscow. It means the actual Hebrew meaning. It comes from son of Moses. So We Are All Socialists Now, a deplorable looks at the 2020 election. And I think on that note, I'm going to thank everyone for joining me this afternoon. Charles Moskowitz here, Monday through Friday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I will hold the fort live. I will invite guests. I will engage in commentary, and I will invite you, the caller, to join me and so we can interact just like we would in the old days with an old-fashioned radio talk show. So on that note, once again, I want to thank you for joining me this afternoon. I wish everyone a good weekend. And I want to just say, God bless this country. God bless our president, Donald Trump. And God bless you and yours. And let's